Hi everyone, I am Naveed Asghar, lecturer in English, Government Postgraduate College, Jam. And today I am going to discuss an important area in English language, which is usually covered in different kinds of exams, and that is what informal language. Actually, if we think of an English language as a continuum like this one, on the one extreme side we have what formal words, and on the other side we have what informal words, and somewhere lies in the midst some neutral words. So formal words are best suited to those situations which requires formal communication, business communication, official communications, while the informal words are used while writing letters to your friends, writing an emails, text messaging, writing postcards, and in the mid some neutral words are there which don't have a formal or informal flavor. Now the point which I want to establish at the beginning is from where do these formal words come and from where these informal words popped out in English language. Actually, English language is a combination of different languages. We have taken different words from different language. Formal words are taken from the French due to Norman conquest. Some Latin words are there, and at the same time we have some Anglo-Saxon words in English language. So all Anglo-Saxon words, they have informal flavor, and the words which were borrowed from French, Norman French, which were borrowed from Latin, they have formal flavor in English language. So the point is that the formal words which were borrowed from French and Latin are used in formal situations, and informal words which are all Anglo-Saxon words in English language, they have what? Informal flavor. So while writing an informal letter to your friend, you need to draw your words from Anglo-Saxon category of what? English language. So the next point which I would like to shed light on, what are those situations which requires an informal stuff, and what are those situations which require formal kind of words. So when you are writing a letter to your friend, the one you know, with whom you have what? Some kind of informal relationship, your family members, your friends, then you are supposed to write what? Informal language. And when you are going to write, you are going to have a official correspondence, business correspondence, then you are going to draw your words from what? Formal categories. So suppose you are going to write a letter to the bank manager, you are going to write a letter to restaurant manager, so you have to write what? Formal stuff. And the difference between formal and informal language is based on two major points. One is choice of grammar, and the other is what? Vocabulary. So your choice of grammar and your choice of vocabulary invest a level of formality or informality in your language. So this thing must be clear at the start of our lecture, that it's actually the grammar and the particular choice of words which invest a flavor of formality and informality in your writings. So the next thing which I would like to discuss in our lecture is what kind of techniques a student has to cultivate in his writing to make his letter, or whatever the case may be, informal one. So actually, in hindsight, I would like to say that the point of recording this lecture is in particularly meant for the O-level students, and in general for the rest of the students. In O-levels exams, there is a first question in first paper that is called directed writing, and there will be plenty of questions in that fall into the category of what directed writing, and one of the important questions in that directed writing is called what informal letter. So first I would like to discuss informal letters in special reference to what O-level exams, because that is my major concern for today's lecture. All the questions which fall under the category of directed writing carry 30 marks, and these 30 marks are further broken down into 15 marks for content and 15 marks for the style. So the major focus of today's lecture will be going to shed light on those techniques which enables our students to earn those 15 marks. What are those techniques which an examiner wants from the students, so that he or she, whatever the case may be, could credit the students? So there are different different techniques which a student needs to understand as far as those marks for the style is concerned. So I am going to break down 30 marks into further two categories. 30 marks for all directed writing questions, 15 marks for style, and the rest of the 15 marks are for the task fulfillment. For the task fulfillment, there are 3 bullet points. 5 marks for each bullet point, 15 marks for the bullet points, and every bullet point carries 5 marks. So 15 marks for the bullet points, that is called, technically that is named as task fulfillment, and the rest of the 15 marks that a student needs to get credit when he or she, whatever the case may be, he or she knows those techniques which makes his language formal or informal one. So I am going to discuss, this is a pretty easy stuff. Those are the 3 bullet points that are right in front of the candidates. He needs to expand them one by one. Each paragraph should have 100 words almost, because the maximum limit for the directed writing question is what, 300 words. So that's a pretty easy stuff. This one is a bit technical, so my lecture is going to discuss those techniques that's very important, which makes your language what, an informal one. The first technique, which is a very important one in order to give the flavor, give an informal flavor to your writing, is called discourse markers. Second one is idiomatic expressions. Third one is phrasal verb. Fourth one is vague language. Fifth one is ellipsis. Sixth one is short and compound sentences, and the seventh one is use of first person pronouns. So these are the 7 techniques which a student has to cultivate in his writing, and then he is going to score maximum out of those 15 marks. The first one is called discourse markers. Discourse markers means those words which function as a signpost, which tell the reader that he is going to expect an informal language, and there will be so many discourse markers for informal language, like well, of course, obviously, by the way, okay, right. So such kind of words are what discourse markers, and they function as a signpost, or they function as a signal words for the examiners, so that he could expect whatever the student is going to write is not a formal language, it's what informal language. So the discourse marker, which I plan to record a full-fledged lecture on discourse markers. So in the passing, simply I am just going to write them down. Okay, these are the discourse markers which makes a language informal one, and students needs to learn what are those discourse markers, how they are to be used, and they are actually different uses of, like well, this is an important discourse marker and we use it in our spoken English, and there are 3 or 4 different uses of what this discourse marker well. The second technique is what idiomatic expression, and it's a responsibility of the students that he needs to have a large pool of idiomatic expression, so that he could draw those idioms while writing or penning his informal letters. The next one is phrasal verbs. They are a bit technical, a bit tough, so he needs to learn those phrasal verbs. Then we have vague language. Actually, formal language is always factual, that is always targeted, that is always directed, and on the other hand, informal language is what formal language is not. So what formal language is not, it is always indirect, means informal language. Informal language is always direct, indirect, it is always vague. So vague language the students have to use while writing while writing his informal letters. The vague language example I would like to give, simply, I hope to see you not in too distant future. It means see you soon. See you soon is also a vague expression. So such kind of stuff student has to use while penning his informal letter. The next one is ellipsis. Ellipses, actually, these are the we cut off certain words while writing down informal letters. Simply, just like I am sorry to keep you waiting. Simply, you could say sorry to keep you waiting. So the next is short and compound sentences. There are 4 types of sentences in English language: short, complex, compound, and complex compound. And while writing an informal letter, what the student has to use, either he has to use short sentences or compound sentences, and use of the personal pronouns, first person pronouns. The first person pronouns gives a flavor of informal touch in your language. So the student has to use first person pronoun while writing down what an informal letters. So what I am planning, this is the first lecture, and what I plan to do is to record a separate lecture for discourse markers, for idiomatic expressions. It doesn't mean that student has to learn thousands of what idiomatic expression. There are certain idioms which are frequently used while in narrative essay, while in informal language. So idioms are not to be used in official language, they are not used in informal letters. They mostly frequently they are used in informal letters, they are used in narrative essay, which the student's favorite is. Then with a separate lecture of phrasal verb, the same is the case with vague language, ellipses, short and compound sentences, and use of person pronoun. That's it, and that's for today. Thank you very much.